Isn't holiday music just the best? Puts me in a good mood. That's what I feel like. Always puts me in a good mood whenever the holiday music's on the radio. I think here locally, 97.1 is the one that's running all the holiday music, so I got that on a lot. I love it. Just puts me in a good mood. Hopefully everybody's in a good mood today. It's Wednesday. You're not in a good mood if you have to work outside. I know. I'm sorry. It's windy. It's cold. By the way, sorry I've been gone the past few days. If you wait for these little weather chit chats, I was out yesterday on a story, and I was on vacation before that. So I'm back now. I'm back through Christmas Day. What's up, everybody? What's up, Illinois guy? Hey, I don't think I've seen you before. Welcome back, Illinois guy. Here's the deal. We're going to talk about snow risk here in D.C. tonight. It's not a huge one, but I'll kind of show you what's up. And we're going to start you off with cold temps, though, because it is bone-chillingly cold. It's again not Halloween anymore, so I got to work on some new words, some new catchphrases for that. So let me cue it up. Let's do. Let's kind of look at what's going on with current temps around the region, and that is the White House. Which is not what I wanted to show, but it came up anyway. Let me go. Let me try this again. There we go. That's current temperatures around the region here. I know it's kind of crazy to see, but let me explain a thing or two. 27 degrees is what it's pointing out for Washington and Baltimore right now. That was actually Baltimore. I circled Washington's kind of right in the middle there. But lots of cold north and west. That's 22 up near Pittsburgh. That's 22 in Cleveland. But what you notice more than anything is the fact that the wind is blowing, and it is blowing hard. We have had gusts up and over 30. Here's kind of the observations at the D.C. airport from the morning hours. And we made it as low as 23 degrees, which is right there. I'll circle it for you. And dew points it's super dry out there. You need the chapstick. Even my lips are drying out just a little bit. Yeah, extra chapstick, extra Vaseline, whatever you need today to get through the dry air, because dew points are in the single digits, which means it's very dry air out there, which will play a part in the snow tonight. I'll talk about that, and again, who's going to see snow in just a second. Let me finish with these right now. Gust-wise, let's see if they listed in here. It might be, let's see. Oh yeah, it's kind of off the screen. It's right below here. So it looks like we had a peak gust this morning that I was able to see. I believe it was 36. I don't see, they didn't put it on here. Last night, right there, gust to 39, but that was during the overnight hours. But I believe this morning we had a gust up to 36. Believe me, I do this for a living, please. All right, here's what it feels like. The winds are not as bad. But they are still, they could be better. Let's put it. White House again. The flag, look at the flag on top. Look at the flags back by the monument. They are being whipped around out there. And it's reflected in the wind chills. Here's kind of the wind chill values around town right now. Current wind chill in D.C., it feels like 14 degrees. So this is kind of like as you step outside, what does it feel like? It feels like 14. Not ready for that just yet. I'll take that in January. That's fine. December, it kind of makes things a little miserable. Let me move my banner. Fredericksburg, 17. Single digits. Still feels like it's 11 o'clock, 11:15 on a Wednesday morning in mid-December, and it feels like 8 degrees in Frederick. It feels like 7 in Hagerstown. It feels like 9 in Martinsburg. So, yes, we were talking the extreme cold, the extreme temps. And tomorrow morning won't feel much better. We're still going to have some breezy conditions around through the morning hours tomorrow. Shouldn't do single digits, but certainly feeling like the teens, I think, in some of our northwest suburbs, and probably lower 20s here in D.C. We'll kind of see what we're dealing with tomorrow morning. Winds will get progressively better through the day today, but then they'll kind of re-kick up tomorrow, and we'll be waking up to some breezy conditions as well. All right, let's start our little weather talk here about what's going on tonight. As I send you back to the White House by mistake again, let me get the computer queued up, and here we go. All right, here's kind of the weather feature, the players, as I like to call them, the weather features in play for what's going on. Let me move my controls. Let's see, it's not going to let me move them too far off the map here. Anyway, big area, high pressure down to our south. We have a northeasterly flow on top of that. Second feature in play is this area, low pressure off the coastline, which just brought a couple of our suburbs some snowflakes last night, but not many. There's a northwest flow on the backside of that. So you got those two features kind of holding the cold air in place today and making this the coldest day since March 15th. That's, or at least the coldest start to the day. We fell to 23 degrees. We fell to 22 degrees on March 15th of this past year. So this is as cold as we've been since then. Player worth watching is this guy sliding across the Midwest right now. It is a clipper. It is moving fast, and models don't handle clippers very well, which is why it's a concern. But we still take them into account, and most of them don't have much snow getting in here into the DC region. But at least the threat for some snowflakes is even a concern with this one, even though it's not going to be the inches of snow we got on Saturday. What we lacked on Saturday was cold air in place to get the ground temps cold. So we weren't cold enough to stick on the roads. Saturday was the perfect snow here. We had 2 inches of snow. It was all on the grass. Roadways were fine. No, there wasn't chaos everywhere. It came on the weekend. It was a perfect snowfall. Just turned everything beautiful for a couple days, and it's now kind of gone. Clipper could be trouble just because even though it doesn't have that much moisture, and it's probably not, we're not talking big amounts, every flake that falls could stick, and it could even stick to the road in a few locations that get some of the steadier light snow overnight. I don't think it's a massive issue, but for those that do see it, it could be an issue for the morning commute tomorrow. So again, that's that guy coming down out of Minnesota into northern Illinois this morning. It's going to approach our region later on tonight. There's another look at kind of the snowfall with it. You see this branch here of snow extending down to the south through Ohio. You know, very light stuff. It's getting some moisture enhancement from the lakes there, but nothing that's going to be like we're going to wake up to 12 inches of snow tomorrow. Heck no. Clippers don't do that. They just don't. They don't have the same amount of energy as these coastal storms like what we had on Saturday. Here's the latest models with it, though. You'll see as I go through forward in time, that's 21Z, which is 4 o'clock, so 5, 6, 7 o'clock. It's got a little bit of light snow in our northwest suburbs, but I will say this. Atmosphere is very dry, so some of that snow probably isn't going to hit the ground because it's going to evaporate before it gets to the surface because of how dry the air is. That's 7 o'clock tonight. Let me make sure I got my times right. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock tonight. It's got some light snow falling from DC to the north. Again, tough to reach the ground here in Washington. Could I rule out a night light coating somewhere? Absolutely not. But I think your best odds are going to be up in this area. DC, or not DC, Maryland, Pennsylvania border will be the best chance of getting snow actually falling and some snow actually sticking because it should reach the surface. If you snow long enough in the atmosphere, you'll eventually moisten it up and you'll get the snow reaching the surface. So we do have to watch that out. Let me pull up a closer view here so you can kind of tell. Like it's sort of the DC north. Now we do have to watch the timing because these things sometimes move in faster than we expect. We were going more overnight timing, but maybe it's more of a late evening tonight kind of timing with it. If this clipper continues the rocket here, that's the center of low pressure. It's moving. It's a fast-moving system. Clippers always are. They ride the jet stream down. Snowfall amounts-wise, your big blockbuster amounts, if you want to call them that. I know they don't up here. 3, 4 inches, 5 inches of snow up through the mountains is not going to even get them out of bed in the morning up through portions of western Pennsylvania. But in our northwest suburbs, you know, the mountains out here to the west could do 1 to 3 inches of snow tonight, I think. Even more so than it's showing down at the bottom through the afternoon because you'll get some upslope snow on the backside. But that's just mountaintops out to the west of town. But you see the half-inch line kind of through Frederick, Maryland, and then off to the North Carroll County, northern portions of Baltimore and Hartford counties. Washington County might get 1 inch or 2. Cumberland, Maryland might get 1 inch or 2. And if we were to see any school delays tomorrow morning, I believe they would be, you know, your Garrett, your Washington, I believe it's Allegheny County, Garrett, Washington, Allegheny counties up there. That would be your best bet for seeing any school delays this morning. Maybe if Frederick's able to do better than we think, then yeah, maybe Frederick County in Maryland. But I don't think here in D.C. unless we get surprised with a light coating. All it will take in this case is a light coating because those roadways are cold, and there is at least a threat for a little bit of snow falling overnight tonight. So we're watching that. Just know we're watching that in the Weather Center. Keep it in mind if you're heading out late tonight. Things could get a little tricky if that snow does move in a little earlier and if it is steady enough. All right, long-term stuff. Lots of people asking me about Christmas. I've gotten tons of questions on it over the past few days. Generally speaking, cold patterns are about to break a little bit. Watch as we lose our features. We've talked about this on these YouTube channels before. You need that nice block up there. You need lots of red up there, and that forces the cold south if you have the blocks up to the north there. Watch as we kind of head forward in time here. We start to lose those blocking features. See how it gets blue? This is now next Tuesday. You're getting blue up through here, so you're not blocking as much. So basically what that's going to do is all the cold air is going to pull back. And this is what we call in the weather department a recharge pattern. You're essentially rebuilding that Canadian Arctic cold air mass up over the Arctic regions, and you already see signs that the ridge is going to try and build back up in Alaska. And once you start to block out Alaska, you're going to start to pull cold air back. So I do think that this is a sign that, yes, we're going to get a little warm or milder than we've been Monday, Tuesday, maybe even to next Wednesday. It depends on which model is right here. And you're going to get some back and forth here as we head into next week. So whereas this week was kind of predominantly cold, we had snow on Saturday, it was chilly on Sunday, and we kept the chilly pattern kind of going all the way till the end of the week. We're only going to be in the lower 40s tomorrow and probably won't make it out of the 30s on Friday. I think as we head into next week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to see kind of more of a back and forth. Like, there we go, that's Tuesday, maybe we're a little warm. Cold comes back for a day on Wednesday, but then we bubble up warmth on Thursday and Friday. And by warmth, I mean compared to normal. So usually we're like 48 degrees, 47, 48 degrees this time of year for normal highs. So a warmish day compared to normal would be like 50s, 51, 52, 53, 54 degrees would be a good December day if you're a more mild lover than cold lovers. Then we wait for the recharge. We'll have to see what's up with how fast. You see the Alaskan ridge rebuilding. What that means is it's going to take whatever cold air is up here and it's going to force it down southward. Right now, the ensembles, and this is the American version, I'll show you the European in a minute, are trying to get the cold back in here close to Christmas time. It's kind of focused out to the west, and there's a little bit of shallow warmth still going here on the eastern coast. I will say this, and it is a concern, is that your ridge down south here isn't built in as well, so you're not blocking out the storm tracks. So if you take, this is the active storm track out here, if you take a piece off this and you send it under this ridge here, this could be an interesting pattern for getting storms. So I will say late month does look like it could be active once again for trying to get some snow into here once that cold does arrive. Right now, the question is, does it arrive closer to New Year's? Does it arrive closer to Christmas? My favoring is kind of after Christmas. I'll show you why. Let's switch over. Here's another look at just temperatures over the next few days. So this is kind of today. We're cold through Friday. That's now getting out through Friday. Saturday, we kind of start a slow trend towards warmer temperatures. By Sunday afternoon, we're a little bit above normal, but it's not a warm day on Sunday. Monday, Tuesday would be the best chance of getting a decent kind of warm day, but it's cloudy and rainy. It's not snowy next week. We do have rain in the forecast. So I'll show you the 7-day in just a minute. And then we kind of flip back to the colder direction after that. But in the back and forth kind of way. So kind of cold, warm, as we head through the course of next week. Let me show you, it might be easier for you just to be able to see it. So let's go ahead and I'll throw up the 7-day forecast here. You can see what we went with this morning. There it is. We had 36 today, which is going to be a struggle to even do because the winds are blowing so hard. We might not make 33, 34 degrees later on today here in D.C. Again, chance of a snow shower late tonight to overnight. Best chances are going to be north of town, west of town. It shouldn't be a huge deal, but I could see a school delay or two in the Maryland Panhandle being possible, depending on just how much snow does fall. We head into Friday. Snow shower still in the forecast because we're kind of between storms, and I'll show you that in just a second. But it doesn't look like a huge deal, and at this time, I don't see it becoming a huge deal. I think we're going to miss this one, unlike last Saturday where we got a little lucky. I do think we'll miss Friday. Of course, if that changes, I'll let you know. But right now, it looks like it might even be a struggle to get snow showers in here. Saturday's sunny, clearing out a little bit, more sunshine, 45, 47 by Sunday. And then next week, yes, 50's coming back, and that's too warm for snow, but it will come with a chance of rain. Right now, I have it focused on Monday, because that's what the European has. But the GFS is more focused on Tuesday, which you'll see in just a minute here. So maybe I have to adjust the timing of next week's rain a little bit. But that's kind of just things I'll worry about it in the days to come here as we try and kind of hammer out what exactly the forecast is going to do. All right, so that's our 7-day forecast. You can see the little warm streak coming. Here's what had everybody up in arms today. First off, let me talk about Saturday, or kind of Friday, is you have this system coming through the Great Lakes. This is Friday's snow chance, and you got a weak storm system. You see how poorly organized it is out to the west there, warm front there, cold front there. in between these two systems, you'll have enough instability that we could fire up a snow shower. You see this patchy blue here, 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 and here, and I think if I run it back a little bit, you might see a little bit popping up closer to DC. Maybe not so much in this model. But again, it's not the biggest snow shower chance in the world, and it's nothing that would cause any problems. But as we're in between those two systems, as you'll get a little energy from here, try and transfer it to this low out here, you could pop a snow shower or two. Again, I don't see this as becoming a big deal. We can check the upper level energy. We'll see what we're dealing with. Let's do this. Yeah, it's a shallow. This is Friday afternoon. There's a shallow trough in there, and it's probably not even tilted that way. It's probably tilted more, say. I mean, it's kind of tilted. It's hard to find the tilt here. It kind of looks positively tilted. But anyway, you have strung out energy here. There's nothing organized. You need kind of a ball. Like if this is the axis of the trough, you need kind of a ball of energy to be leading it. And at this point, you would need the ball of energy to be out here. Energy is kind of really strung out on this one. It doesn't look good as of right now. And again, these two aren't really phasing. Weak little trough up here, but your main cold push is kind of way up here. And this energy is all strung out in here. You don't have anything organized off the coast. Eventually, I think they do kind of connect, it looks like, right? So let's swing forward. Say maybe a little bit right there, because it does spin up a little bit out over the ocean when it gets to about this point. It starts to spin out. But anyway, look at the string of energy you have going back to Texas. So you need it more organized. You need it more clustered. And right now, I don't have any model showing that it's going to be more organized or more clustered to give us a surprise. Again, we'll watch it over the next few days. But gut feeling on this one is snow shower. An isolated snow shower is going to be the general call there on Friday. All right, back to what this thing could potentially do. Let's get back out to kind of Christmas time now. This is I'd like to give this shout outs, by the way, if you can't see it behind my face. This is Tropical Tidbits. I'm using the website I showed, and I want to give them a shout out too, so they don't yell at me. I used Pivotal Weather for the snowfall maps earlier. What's up, Stevie? Looking at the long-term stuff again. Let's go out to Monday, Tuesday. GFS has rain, and you can see it's clearly rain. The upper levels aren't good for snow. Everything about next week says rain. I don't think we'll see any big surprises there. It's what had weather people or weather weenies or whatever you want to call them on social media up in arms today was as we got out to Christmas, we started getting into that stormier pattern, which I think we are heading for a stormier pattern at some point later on this month. But here's what it showed Christmas Day. This is December 23rd, so this is the day before Christmas. It's showing basically it's a strung out cold front here that's showing snow along it. Don't buy that. I don't buy that. This is way too far out in the 6Z GFS, which is not the best model for getting these things to work. That's for sure. Heading forward in time, it had this on Christmas Day, which is it's a perfect setup for a storm. You got an area of high pressure up here, which locks the cold in. It brings the cold air down. It locks it in to areas down to the south. You got a nice big juicy cold high coming in out there, throwing cold air down, and you got a nice low trying to develop down here and work its way up the coast. Textbook definition of a Christmas Day snowstorm there. Problem is it's probably not right. That's just the way these weather models work when we're talking like 14, 15 days away here. It's very tough to get those proper ingredients together for a snowstorm, and it's very difficult for the model to see exactly where those surface features are going to be. So I don't really buy this. I also think this model is rushing the cold air back a little bit too much. I don't mind the fact that the pattern's going to get a little stormier, but I think it's more delayed until after Christmas, and this is why. The European model, best model in the world, it really is. We get out towards Christmas. Again, I mentioned there goes our blocks. This is kind of early next week. We're all blue up at the pole, which means we're going to build some ridging and a little bit of milder temperatures or just not as cold temperatures into next week. We'll bubble cold from time to time, but it's once this guy out here, that is Alaska, once Alaska starts being on fire again, which means a nice big ridge building up into Alaska, you're going to start to fire that cold back down. Looking at the days here, this is on Storm Vista, by the way. Back here. looking at the days, it is keeping the cold on Christmas Eve. This is, look at your day, this is Christmas Eve afternoon on Sunday. It's not the warmest pattern in the world here, but it's keeping your core of the cold back through the west, through the Midwest kind of area, and that's where your best snow chances are going to be, is maybe you get a storm to ride up the Appalachian Mountains there, and maybe you're looking at a white Christmas, say, in Chicago or, say, in Minneapolis. We'll see. We gotta judge. Obviously, the ensembles this far out aren't going to get the specifics of the pattern. They aren't going to be able to nail it down just yet, so we'll see what we're dealing with. In a few more, probably in another week or so here, we'll have a halfway decent idea of Christmas. But generally, the thought right now, based on the European, is that we're cool, but not cool enough for snow on the East Coast. However, if I continue to run this model forward, we get out towards the 27th, 28th of December, you're starting to build this ridge back over the top, and it's starting to stretch towards Greenland a bit, and you're starting to take that core of the cold, and you're starting to move it eastward. So to me, as things stand at this moment, we're looking at the cold returning sometime after Christmas, but before New Year's, and it looks like it would lock in a little bit for several days here. As long as you don't rebuild the gatekeeper ridge, as we like to call it, up through California and block off the storminess, I think we have potential to do a storm at that time just based on the pattern. Will it be a big one? Will it be a little one? Will it be like last Saturday? I don't know. Will it happen at all? I don't even know that yet. Again, it's all in the details. The beauty's in the details when you're forecasting the weather. I'm just saying I have seen storms happen with patterns like this before, where you got a trough out here and a weak ridge out here. Usually you're gonna get your high. You're gonna dive a high area, high pressure down south here. You'll have one lifting off the top here with the ridge kind of centered right there. And that's not the worst setup for a storm pattern in the world. We'll keep our fingers crossed if you're a white Christmas snow lover kind of thing like I am. Again, I don't necessarily think that this gives you a white Christmas, but maybe there's a little bit of hope for, say, closer to New Year's that we could get something. That's kind of long-term stuff that I see right now. That's all I got. Again, I don't think tonight, I think the big concern this evening is just what are we going to do with this little clipper that's coming through. And let me see if they had a new model run come in. Let's see how fast. I mean, see, that clipper is getting a little aggressive now, so that's a little worrisome later on tonight. That's actually trying to pull some light snow here into D.C. So we do have to watch out for this. I promise you that. I don't want this the surprise. You always worry that maybe, because if we get a coating, it could cause chaos on the roads. Because the roads are cold, where it feels like 14 degrees outside. Our temps are still, I think, in the 20s. So we'll watch out for that tonight. But again, I don't expect jackpot amounts around here. All right, that's all I have for today. Tomorrow, pull myself back on camera here. Tomorrow, Wisdom is back, and we will do our thing, pick some NFL games. We'll discuss who won. Hint, I won last week. And maybe I'll convince him to go pay his dues for once and see if he can give me some Chick-fil-A tomorrow afternoon. That's all I have, guys. And then Friday, we'll talk more about the weekend. We'll double-check on what the pattern's doing in the future, talk about next week, and talk about Christmas more and more, because the Christmas holiday is coming up. Everybody wants to know travel weather and whether or not they're going to have to worry about any sort of issues with weather being a problem. Hard to say right now, but we will talk much more about that coming up in the days to come. All right, so that's all I have. I'm officially done. I swear it. Let's put some Christmas jingle down here. There we go. Getting in the Christmas shopping spirit there. All right, that's all I have. Enjoy your Wednesday. Tomorrow's football day. Friday will be more weather. Have a great week. Stay warm out there. Don't get freezing cold. It'll get a little better tomorrow. Even better as we head to the More on that coming up on Friday. That's it for today. Molly's up in just a few minutes. She's got some news headlines. There was some sort of election going on in Alabama this weekend, so I've heard. I'm sure she'll be talking a lot about that. So she's back in just a sec. All right, guys, take care. I'll end with a live look here at let's do the White House. Most of these are the only ones I have up right now. But we'll do the live look at the White House. Right there. And I'll send you off on that note. All right, guys, Molly's coming back in just a second. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys, I am back. It's Molly here. So, Graham, if you're still on, I'm here. You don't have to be screaming on the chat. Just kidding. So, we're back with some news, headlines, guys, and some breaking live video. First, I want to go to the main story of today, which at least I think is sort of pressing and big. It just happened moments ago. Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton announced in a news conference that Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith will be the replacement for Al Franken after he resigned publicly on the Senate floor. Now, his official confirmed date of resignation isn't, we actually do not know. It's sort of pushed out. He said it would be in a few weeks. But here's the official announcement. It happened, like I said, just a few moments ago, so we're going to play it out. It's almost like you're seeing it live, but just barely. This just happened. And we'll see what he has to say in this news conference to replace Senator Al Franken. We're going to have Tom Fitzgerald from the newsroom also come and chat with us a little bit more about the politics of the day behind this, and of course behind the big Alabama victory for Democrat Doug Jones. Big story, guys, out of Alabama. The first time they've seen a Democratic in the Senate, a Democrat in the Senate since 1992, which is pretty wild. So if you guys weren't following that, that was last night. We'll talk more about that in a second, but first, here's the announcement replacing Al Franken just moments ago. Check it out.
She's extremely intelligent, quick to learn, yet always open to hearing others' views. She genuinely likes people, and people like her. She has impeccable integrity and the highest personal and professional standards. She will be a senator of whom all Minnesotans can be proud. Tina knows Minnesota. She's traveled extensively throughout our state. She knows our citizens, our challenges, and our opportunities. We worked closely together during the past 7 years, and she deserves great credit for our administration's achievements. I've worked with many superb public officials during my 40-year career. Tina stands first and foremost among them. She's extremely intelligent, quick to learn, yet always open to hearing others' views. She genuinely likes people, and people like her. She has impeccable integrity and the highest personal and professional standards. She will be a senator of whom all Minnesotans can be proud. Tina knows Minnesota. She's traveled extensively throughout our state. She knows our citizens, our challenges, and our opportunities. We worked closely together during the past 7 years, and she deserves great credit for our administration's achievements, which have led to her just being named the
All right, guys, clearly having a little bit of an issue with this video, with this stream. We're going to find a better copy of it for you. Like I said, it just happened. I want to make sure we get that up at the top of the show here. So bear with me here. We're going to get a copy of that video.
Senator Group for the people of Minnesota. It's now my honor to introduce Minnesota's next United States Senator, Tina Smith.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Governor Dayton, wherever you are. There you are. I accept this appointment, and it will be my great honor to serve Minnesota as United States Senator. Though I never anticipated this moment, I am resolved to do everything that I can to move Minnesota forward, and I will be a fierce advocate in the United States Senate for economic opportunity and fairness. This is a difficult moment for us, but even now I am filled with optimism for Minnesota, this big, welcoming, diverse, and resilient place that has been my home for over 30 years. As Lieutenant Governor, I have traveled everywhere in Minnesota. Being elected Lieutenant Governor is a little like being invited into Minnesota's living room. I've talked to people in their homes, at their jobs, in city halls, and their places of worship. We've talked about what worries them, what keeps them up at night, and what gives them hope. And I've learned a lot from that. You know, Minnesota has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. But I've heard stories from families who are working 2 full-time jobs and still struggling to find a good place to live. Minnesota has some of the best schools, but I've talked to moms who are faced with driving 60 miles every day to get their child to a good preschool. Minnesota has more people with health insurance than almost any other state. Yet I've talked to farmers who have lost access to their longtime doctors and can't afford the health insurance premiums. Minnesota Iron Ore built this country, yet I've talked to rangers who are worried about the future of their small towns. And Minnesota is often named one of the best states for women. Yet even here, women still earn less than men, and women of color and Native American women have even fewer opportunities. We have so much opportunity in this state and this country, but we have so much work to do to make sure that that opportunity is broadly shared. Paul Wellstone said often, we all do better when we all do better. And I will serve Minnesota in the United States Senate, guided by these words and led by these Minnesota stories. Just over 3 years ago, we re-elected Senator Franken with a mandate to work hard to keep Minnesota moving forward, to improve people's lives. And with his decision to step down, it is the responsibility of our governor to appoint a person to fill this vacant spot. Now my job will be to go to Washington, D.C. to continue working on behalf of Minnesota and our country. And I will do this in my own way, using my own best judgment and experience, but always with the people of Minnesota in mind. And it is up to Minnesotans to decide for themselves who they want to complete Senator Franken's term. They will make this decision in a special election next November. I will run in that election, and I will do my best to earn Minnesotans' support. And I believe the way to do that is by being the best senator that I can be. I want to thank Senator Franken for his service. He has been a champion for our state, and I know that he and Franny will continue to work for our state and for our country. And I also want to thank Senator Franken's excellent staff, both here in Minnesota as well as in Washington, D.C., for your work to help Minnesota. You do that every day in thousands of ways. This work continues, and we still need you. I want to take a moment also to express my deep gratitude for the opportunity to serve with Governor Mark Dayton. I have seen how Mark brings integrity, heart, and a passion for justice to his job. He is an exceptional leader, and I am so proud to have served with him. The men and women in our office and the 34,000 people who serve in state government are some of the best, most dedicated public servants that I have ever known. I have loved this job, and I have been so proud to call you colleagues. My family is with me here today. Didn't want to stand too close. I want to take a moment also to express my deep gratitude for the opportunity to serve with Governor Mark Dayton. I have seen how Mark brings integrity, heart, and a passion for justice to his job. He is an exceptional leader, and I am so proud to have served with him. The men and women in our office and the 34,000 people who serve in state government are some of the best, most dedicated public servants that I have ever known. I have loved this job, and I have been so proud to call you colleagues. My family is with me here today. Didn't want to stand too close, My husband Archie, our sons Sam and Mason, and their wives and our daughters, Emily and Julia. I'm so proud of you. I love you, and I'm so grateful for your love and support. Finally, I want to thank the people of Minnesota for this opportunity to have served you in the state capitol, and for your support and encouragement as I become your senator. You know, the governor keeps a sign in his office that says, "None of us is as smart as all of us." And I will take my own version of that sign with me to Washington, D.C., as a reminder of the wisdom of my fellow Minnesotans. This Senate seat has a strong, abiding legacy of service and social justice that runs back to Paul Wellstone, Walter Mondale, Gene McCarthy, and Hubert Humphrey. As I take this new position in this extraordinary time that we're in, I will do my best to move this legacy, but to move it forward towards a better, more inclusive, and more just future for all of us. Thank you very much, and the governor and I would be happy to take a few questions.
Governor, you said that this decision was yours and yours alone. Did you get a lot of pressure from national Democrats on who you should choose and whether that person should just be a placeholder or run again?
The only person in Washington I spoke with outside of our Minnesotans in our congressional delegation is Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. He did not express a view about who the selection should be. He did believe that, does believe that the person should run for the office next year. You know, he has a strong and legitimate stake in this decision as the Democratic leader, and obviously wants to hold the seat next year. But I didn't get pressure, and the decision is mine, and Tina's decision to run for the seat next year is her decision.
Any concerns you might be perceived as kind of installing a senator and being kind of a kingmaker here?
Well, Queen maker. I'm doing what the Constitution of Minnesota instructs me to do. It's unequivocal that the governor appoints someone to fill the vacancy until the next general election, which will be in November of 2018. So, and as Tina said, at that point, the people of Minnesota will decide, properly so, for the remainder of the Senate term. So I'm doing what the Constitution of Minnesota gives me the responsibility to do.
I'd like to just respond to that too. I think anybody who knows the voters of Minnesota know that they can't be told what to do. And my purpose is to go out and ask for those voters' support, and that is my job to do. And I think that that's just such an important part of this this story that we're telling today.
There was some speculation that you would not want to go as November 2018, in part because you declined to run for governor. What changed your mind this afternoon?
Well, this is an extraordinary moment, and in moments like this, you have to ask yourself, I had to ask myself, what was the best way for me to serve? What contribution could I make? What would that look like? I had to assess that. And as I did that assessment, it became clear to me that I'm prepared to do this, I'm qualified to do this, that I have a unique role to play here. And after I realized that, it was a very, very easy decision for me to make.
Governor, how about the cascade of constitutional consequences here? You presumably will have a lieutenant governor who's a Republican if the current presiding officer of the Senate remains. Is there talk of special session? Can you talk us through that?
Well, I don't have all of those answers. I'm not a lawyer. I'm told by my in-house legal counsel that the Constitution and the state statute are clear that the president of the Senate becomes the lieutenant governor, and that she cannot hold two offices simultaneously. But I've asked the Attorney General for a formal opinion. Made that request in writing yesterday. Expect to receive that whenever, shortly. Because this is not my determination to make. My goal is to assure Minnesotans that I'm following, and we're all following, what's prescribed in the Minnesota Constitution and in the statute, without favor to one side or another. And that will be what I will carry out to do. If there are those who want to consider a special session or something of that nature, I haven't really considered it at all myself. I'd have to, the same standard I have for special sessions previously, all four caucus leaders would have to agree in writing to the conditions and the limits But again, I'm not going to go pursue that, and I'm well prepared. Looking forward to working with Senator Fishbach. I called her. We exchanged messages just before this event, and I'll follow up with her and invite her to lunch on Friday. I don't know if she's available then, but if not, then next week, and I'll look forward to working cooperatively with her.
So you've not explored with Senator Guzalko calling a special session so a new Senate president could be elected of your party?
Senator Guzalko and I have talked. He's broached the subject. I said, you know, it was premature until I made this decision. I've not had any lengthy discussion with him. And again, I'm not going to pursue a special session. I'm totally fine with the provisions in the law and the Constitution as they exist. And I'll follow them as they exist unless somebody proposes to, in some legal way, alter that sequence.
All right, so Pete, you're saying this woman seems boring, too interested in identity politics. That's an interesting comment. We have Tom Fitzgerald here for some context.
Our new senator from Minnesota.
Yes, so this just happened a few moments ago. We wanted to play it out. It literally just happened before we came up on the show. I have Tom for just a second before he runs out. So give us a little context on this.
Which camera are we on? Because my head is caught off on that one. All right.
Right there.
Okay. I never know which one we're on.
I know, this is kind of a crazy setup. You guys have
I wish you
seen
could
it in my
see
camera.
what she's got. There's
I know.
literally
Everybody
3
says
cameras
that.
pointing at you, and they're all next to each other.
I'm petitioning
and you
for
have,
a GoPro behind
it's not
me.
like Target when you walk in the door and you know exactly what camera you're on because there's only one there and there's only one screen.
We're gonna go
There's
watch House.
literally 3.
Now we got the main.
Not why you called me over, is it?
No, well, I wanted to show this and then get some context, and then also quickly talk about the election in Alabama before I lose him to his story for the day.
So the speed by which this took place is pretty remarkable. It wasn't all that long ago that Al Franken was fighting to hold on to his political future, and he is still a senator right now. He has not actually resigned. It appears now that those cards are going to fall pretty quickly now. She was the lieutenant governor was named very, very early on in this process that she was going to become the replacement for Al Franken. It gives Senate Democrats another woman in the United States Senate at a time where sexual harassment is one of the dominant points of discussion in this country. It brings a fresh face, although Al Franken was not really an old face, but he is somebody who's been on the national stage for the better part of 4 decades.
Totally.
Not politics the whole time, of course, but Al Franken was a known commodity in a lot of ways when he got into the Senate in 2009, or so. That part will be a change, and it's for the Democrats, probably the biggest loss for them right now was the fact that Franken was quickly gaining reputation as a dogged questioner in hearings. It's not only the questions he put to Jeff Sessions that led to Jeff Sessions having to recuse himself from the Russia investigation, but during the confirmation hearing for Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, there was a withering line of question about whether or not she understood different theories of education assessment. So they lose that. But given what he was facing, and given the fact that the Democrats could not get away from this issue and wanted to pursue an issue against Roy Moore, which they could not because of the fact that they had business to attend to in their own caucus. This does clear the deck for now for them, turns the focus back over to the Democrats. When we spoke earlier last week to both Republican Congresswoman Barbara Comstock and Democratic DC Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, one of the things Norton kept referring to was that the Democrats had dealt with their problem. Now, we can't sit here and say that that's the case. Right. We don't know what's going to come out. We didn't know some of these previous things were going to come out. But the Democrats seem to be of a mind right now that when one of these things come up, they look like they want to get rid of that person ASAP, so that they can then turn around the focus. And you saw it yesterday up on the Hill. They're turning the focus up Pennsylvania Avenue now. They want the House Oversight Committee to open up an investigation into President Trump.
Right.
And, you know, one of the chairs of the caucus for the Democratic Women's Working Group told us, you know, in their viewpoint, this is not all that different than what Bill Clinton was impeached for. You know, people forget Bill Clinton wasn't impeached for having an affair. Bill Clinton was impeached for lying. The current president, Donald Trump, has repeatedly denied these accusations. He has said he has never met these women, despite the fact that there are photographs with the president alongside some of his accusers. So their point is, if the House Oversight Committee, and this is their view, if the House Oversight Committee would open up an investigation, determine validity of these allegations, although I don't quite know how they would do that without proof, then that would be, in their view, grounds for impeachment, because they say that the president was lying. However, important distinction here, though. You know, there was a special counsel investigation or special prosecutor, they used to call it back then, when Bill Clinton was asked about it, and that was being chaired by Kenneth Starr at the time of the Whitewater investigation. When Clinton, you know, said what he said about Monica Lewinsky and was later charged with lying, he said that under oath during a deposition. So the problem is Twitter, is a campaign speech, is all of this other stuff. That's not lying under oath. He's not under oath when he's on Twitter. He's not under oath when he's... Could
he potentially be placed in a place where he will be in this deposition style?
This is the complication this administration faces right now. Kenneth Starr did not start looking for Monica Lewinsky. Kenneth Starr found Monica Lewinsky in the process of looking into Whitewater. There already is right now a special counsel investigation underway into the Russia probe. The president has not been deposed. Right. So we don't know what kinds of questions President Trump could face. And that is the danger this administration faces right now. When you're under investigation like this, you know, all bets are off as to where it could go. You know, it's not only the Russia part of it. You know, we understand from some recent reporting that the special counsel's office has also requested bank records from Deutsche Bank, which the Trump organization has done business with and apparently owes some debt to. So a lot of these are question marks, but getting back to the point of Minnesota's new senator, this does allow the Democrats to also get something they probably desperately need, which is some new blood. You know, one of the knocks on the Democrats of late has been, if this is supposed to be a party of, you know, fresh faces and younger people and multicultural, you know, are they creating opportunities for women, you know, for minorities that they talk about within their own caucus? And this does bring somebody to the Senate who, you know, will let them have another voice at a time when, you know, sexual harassment and women workplace issues are primary in people's minds.
And is it correct that now she'll be the replacement, and then she'll also be running officially in November?
Well, she hasn't said that yet.
Oh, she hasn't said it.
The way we understand this is going to work is she'll be appointed until a special election next year. Okay, that special election would fill out the remainder of Franken's term, which, you know, expires in a year or two. Okay. And then she could run for a full term.
Oh, got it.
So you know, she's, you know, she wants to continue in this job. She's looking at a minimum of 3 elections.
Yeah. That's
amazing.
Wow.
So
a lot.
You know, it's not a given either. You know, Al Franken hadn't held that seat all that long. Norm Coleman was a Republican that he replaced, and that race came so down to the wire that even though the election was held that November in 2008, Al Franken wasn't seated until the summer of 2009. I was there that day. It was months and months and months of court fights and legal battles and challenges and recounts. It went on.
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah. And it was a very odd situation to be in the Senate for that swearing in that day, months after the actual election. So, yeah, I mean, this situation right now that we're in, you know, we just saw a special election not too long ago in Georgia. We just saw a special election, last night in Alabama. These have not, of late, gone well for the Republicans.
Yeah.
They lost governorships in Virginia and New Jersey. Now, New Jersey was expected that they were going to lose. They thought they had a fighting chance in Virginia. That did not go their way. This race last night in Alabama.
I was going to say, speaking of that,
was an important big loss because the president, in a lot of ways, lost twice on that race. First, by endorsing Luther Strange during the primary. Luther Strange lost, and then the president went in again against what we're told is the advice of a lot of establishment Republicans to not go in on Roy Moore, and ignored that advice, teamed up with his former political director, Steve Bannon, did robocalls for him, held a rally very close to Alabama, encouraging people in Alabama to vote for Roy Moore, and yet again, the president's choice loses. There's a twofer going on in the Senate today. On the one hand, you've got a lot of Senate Republicans who are probably sighing a breath of relief, in a way, because Doug Jones took care of their Roy Moore problem for now. But down the road, this creates a problem because you now got a majority of one seat. What happened last night in Alabama puts the Senate in play for 2018. And it should send shockwaves to the heart of every Republican in the United States Senate right now. And I'll use this line, but I won't plagiarize it. I'll give it credit. This was Mike Allen in Axios right now, that he said the Republican Party right now, in his view, is a box of red states. And to paraphrase, he said, if this box can't hold Alabama, then it doesn't, it doesn't have any power anymore. I mean, Alabama is, one of, if not the most red state in the 50 states.
Yeah, guys, if you're following it, it's now 51-49 in Senate Republicans, right? That's how close it is. We've been trying to bring you kind of both sides of this. Lots of Doug Jones's speeches. We showed you Roy Moore horseback riding to places vote. Lots of stuff surrounding this election. And now last night, let us know your thoughts if you were surprised, what you think. But it definitely is very meaningful for the Senate and to see what is to come with that. But we also, one last question too. We had a viewer who wanted to know if Tom Fitzgerald was a famous book author. I said he probably should be, but
I think there is. Is
there one too?
There is.
Or is he thinking someone
else?
There's
a couple. No, there is a Tom Fitzgerald author.
And then I was like, maybe he's written a book, and I don't know. You? And
I've read a book. I've never
he's read
one.
But,
there's a book author. There's a hockey assistant general manager.
Okay, I mean it's a
of the New Jersey Devils. There's also a longtime NHL player.
Oh.
There was a soccer coach.
Okay. You probably find some more.
There's a couple. Yeah. There's a Disney Imagineer.
The
reason I know this is because I get people who send me these articles,
and
they ask me, "Is this you?" And I go, well, "I wish that was me. I wish I could write a book or coach a hockey team or design Disney rides, but I can't do any of those things."
Right, but you've got the political context for us today, so this is great.
There is another reporter named Tom Fitzgerald that I know who is up at the Philadelphia Inquirer, I believe Tom is right now. And the way we met was 20 years ago when we were at a conference on the environment, and someone was trying to introduce us to the Secretary of the Environment in New Jersey and said, "Hi, this is Tom Fitzgerald. We'd like you to meet him." And we both stuck out our hands at the same time. And that's how we realized we were both.
That's a good meeting.
Yeah,
I like that.
So I call him my evil twin, but he's a very good reporter up in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. The reporter name. That's funny. Well, that's who he is, so now you guys know. Seeing these comments here. Yeah, no, this was good. I mean, it definitely was a big day for all those things, and there's just a lot changing. We're in a new era of politics. It's fun to kind of to follow it. Something different every day.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing to today is going to see how the spin rolls out on what happened last night. If we're talking about, I know we started this talking about
but I want to talk
Minnesota.
about
However, the president served the first tennis ball, as it were, this morning on this one because he went out with a tweet saying that he knew that Roy Moore was going to lose the whole time and that he was right. That is a bit of revisionist history because of the fact that the president was making robocalls on the part of Roy Moore and had thrown his support behind him. Now,
Yeah.
you know, the truth is, you know, there's two ways you can look at this. On the one hand, you know, Donald Trump once already did tell Alabamans not to pick Roy Moore as their candidate.
Because Luther changed.
Because he did say that he didn't think he could carry in the general election. However, you know, in the last couple of weeks, really doubled. He bought some Roy Moore stock in the last couple of weeks and, you know, went in on it against the advice of a lot of Republicans who just kind of said, stay away from this.
Even Mitch McConnell was saying
there is a school of thought out there that had the president maybe stayed at arm's length from this one a little more. That, you know, this might have been a little closer than it was. As it stands right now, it looks like Roy Moore cleared the bar by about 10,000 votes. And what's important about that, though, is that Roy Moore last night I should say Doug Jones cleared the bar by about 10,000 points.
Yeah.
Roy Moore did not concede last night. He kind of left a lot of suggestions on the table that he was going to recount, that, you know, stay tuned, we'll sleep on it, we'll wake up in the morning, we'll see what we'll do. Well, you know, the Secretary of State of Alabama came out last night and said very plainly that the people of Alabama had spoken. Barring some, you know, unforeseen development in this, you know, based upon those statements last night, we would expect that the Secretary of State of the state of Alabama is going to certify this race, and Doug Jones at some point will be seated. Now the question is when. You know, he could be seated tomorrow. You know, but Mitch McConnell has made it very clear that he was not going to do that, at least until they finish the Senate version work on the tax bill. So, remember that call I told you I had to take?
Yeah, he's getting that phone call, which is actually perfect
Okay.
because, thanks, Tom. Nice context.
Hi, it's Tom Fitzgerald.
So guys, taking a quick break here because I'm going to tell you about a very special show that we have on Friday. So definitely stay tuned with us, stay on with us this week. Friday we're going to take over the whole stream and we're going to make a little child's wish for Make-A-Wish. You probably are familiar with the foundation, and each year we pick out one kid to make his dream come true, and we'll follow him throughout the day in various scenarios in various places. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to have some guests in studio here from the organization to kind of talk about their journeys with it, and then we'll go across town and see what he is up to. So without revealing too many secrets about that or about the child, we are telling you that Friday is going to be a very special show. So that being said, I have a little meeting to kind of prep for that right now. So I'm going to put you quickly on another thing, but keep the stream going. So just keep us like on the side, minimize if you want. We'll throw some music up there and then we'll come back with some more news. But that is just so you know where I'm going to get a little more info for Friday. So it'll be fun. Okay, so we'll be back with you shortly.
by billionaires and millionaires. And all these other groups are fanatic. Just cut taxes on the rich. I don't even hear them arguing for helping the middle class. Except in TV ads that are deceptive, in my judgment. But they're doing it for that reason. Our Republican colleagues, by trying to appease these very wealthy, small number of greedy people, are writing their political doom, in my opinion. The longer this bill sits behind closed doors, the worse it's getting. It's not improving things for the middle class, it's making it worse. So instead of learning from their mistakes, instead of heeding the lesson, one of the lessons of the election last night, Republicans are doubling down on helping the wealthy and powerful and doing nothing, if not harming, the middle class. In 2010, Leader McConnell said on the floor of the Senate, quote, "We need to move in a new direction, a dramatically new direction." He said, that is the message of Virginia. That is the message of New Jersey. That is the message of Massachusetts. You could replace Massachusetts with Alabama and say the exact same thing today. So, Madam President, in sum, on process, on policy, and on politics, pausing this tax bill and going back to the drawing board is the right thing for Republicans to do. I hope, for the sake of this country, they'll do just that. I yield the floor.
Clerk will call the roll. Mr. Alexander.
Hey guys, yeah, I am back, so thanks for hanging out on the stream. Pete, I just saw your comment, that's pretty funny. I actually meant to put on some new, really interesting, like kind of, what's the word? EDM Christmas music up, but I couldn't find it, and then I was like, shoot, I gotta go to this meeting. But anyway, for the viewers who are just on, I had to run off quickly, and thanks for letting me take a little break there for a meeting for a very special stream on Friday, guys. Fox 5 always partners with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You might know it. I know I was familiar with it actually from college. We had a group that did a special event and charity with them in the spring, and it's always sort of been close to my heart. But anyway, we here at Fox 5 partner with them every year and make one child's dream come true. So Friday, we're actually going to be following along the journey of this one child that we're going to follow around DC, and his dream is to become a canine police officer. So that's all I'm going to say, but it's a nice little teaser to what Friday's show is going to be all about. So we're going to talk to some more people just from the foundation, learn more about it, and kind of follow him around. It'll be really special, and it's really exciting to see their faces, especially around this time of year, the holiday season, to see this kind of thing happen. So thanks again for hanging out. I am back. Alex, you're asking if Rice is going to be on. Hopefully I can grab her for a little social media talk. We had some fun stuff going on this morning. Obviously, we recapped a lot of the political news from the evening. If you missed that, it is on the beginning of our stream. Fox 5's reporter Tom Fitzgerald had to run off to his story, but he gave a nice little context recap of what went on yesterday in Alabama. And guys, let me tell you, to me, Twitter and social media were blowing up with comments about Alabama because it really is significant. It's a major blow, really, to the Republican Party and Donald Trump, but it's also significant and interesting because Alabama has not elected a Democratic senator since 1992. So it goes way back, and the numbers are just really interesting. So never know what's going to happen. It's all pretty crazy, I think, in politics nowadays. So with that, we're going to eventually, as we come up on 1 o'clock Eastern, which is in about 20 minutes, we'll have a cool event coming into us from our national channel. It will be the First Lady, actually. Melania Trump is going to be visiting Joint Base Anacostia Bowling to make remarks and sort out some Toys for Tots, so another sort of holiday-related event for this campaign. And a couple other things coming in, and we'll see what we can grab. Never sure exactly what we'll have on the stream. There is apparently planned in DC a big net neutrality protest and rally for tomorrow. I was seeing this on some of the hidden away blogs and through some threads and strings on Reddit. So that will be really interesting if we can get a camera at that protest. So in that same vein, there is a Protect Net Neutrality event going on right now on Capitol Hill. It looks like we have a video camera there. So I was not abducted, Pete. I am back and I'm here. I know it's kind of quiet. I guess I could be abducted in this environment. I'm just here news gathering for you guys, and we'll see what is coming up here. It looks like I said, a net neutrality sort of event on the Hill. If we have something more interesting than the Senate floor or other things, we'll pull away for some more breaking news and some videos. I'll be looking around for you, and we'll come back into the newsroom in a little bit. So for now, check out what's going on live on the Senate floor.
Please step in if a broadband provider violates its own net neutrality policies. That is, the policy created by the broadband company itself. But if an internet service provider has a written policy that charges websites for internet fast lanes, there's nothing the Federal Trade Commission can do about it. That is ridiculous, and it is wrong. Allowing the broadband industry to set their own net neutrality protections is like letting the fox guard the henhouse. Okay, so the Federal Trade Commission oversight will not work. Chairman Pai also claims that he has another solution. It's called transparency. He argues that if ISPs are transparent about their net neutrality practices, consumers and businesses can simply choose to use a broadband provider with the net neutrality practices that best suits them. But what good is transparency when most Americans have little or no choice for high-speed broadband access? Consider this: 62% of Americans have only one choice for high-speed fixed broadband. That's right. Nearly 2/3 of the country has only one choice who they can purchase broadband from. So, that means that if a household's only choice for high-speed broadband isn't transparent about its plans to set up internet fast and slow lanes, the consumer has two choices. One, accept the internet service provider's terms, or two, live without the internet. That is a false choice. People do not want to live without the internet in the 21st century. So now, Chairman Pai also claims internet service providers actually support net neutrality, but just not the open internet order under which we're living today. That's like saying you support democracy, but not the Constitution. It's like saying you like math, but you hate numbers. It makes no sense. The broadband barons have been fighting for years, both at the Federal Communications Commission and in the courts, to block net neutrality rules. It is crystal clear and has been for years. The broadband companies are deeply opposed to net neutrality because they want to drive up their profits by setting up internet fast and slow lanes and charging consumers more for less. It's a simple formula. Chairman Pai also claims that broadband investment has been discouraged by the open internet order. That is false. Investment in our broadband infrastructure is stronger than ever. And with the deployment of 5G technologies on the horizon, we can expect this strong investment to continue. Broadband investment on the aggregate has increased in the 2 years since the FCC passed the open internet order. But beyond just measuring dollars spent, broadband speeds have also increased after the 2015 order, meaning that ISPs are improving the services they offer to their consumers. And consider this, that in 2016, almost half of the venture capital funds invested in this country went towards internet-specific and software companies. That's $25 billion worth of investments. We have hit the sweet spot. Investment in broadband and wireless technologies is high. Job creation is high. Venture capital investment in online startups is high. Chairman Pai threatens to disrupt this appropriate balance and squash innovation online. It is clear that Americans do not want what the FCC is proposing. It seems like the only supporters of this plan is the broadband industry. If Chairman Pai and his Republican colleagues turn a deaf ear to millions of Americans standing up for net neutrality and approve their plan tomorrow, we will continue this fight elsewhere. When the Obama-era rules were challenged by the internet service providers in 2015, I led a congressional amicus brief with Congresswoman Eshoo in support of the rules. Congresswoman Eshoo and I plan to do the same thing this time and lead an amicus brief in defense of net neutrality. And I also intend to file a Congressional Review Act, or CRA, resolution of disapproval with a number of my colleagues so that the United States Senate can vote to undo Chairman Pai's proposal and restore the 2015 open internet order. The Trump administration is waging an all-out assault on our core protections: DACA, the Affordable Care Act, the Paris Climate Accord, the Clean Power Plan, and now Trump's Federal Communications Commission has put net neutrality in its sights. For all of those who rely upon the free and open internet, whether it's for commerce or education, healthcare or entertainment, I urge you to join in this fight to create a firestorm of opposition to this assault on net neutrality. This is a fundamental attack upon the openness of the internet that must be beaten. And we must now form that army of ordinary Americans as the voices that will fight the lobbyists and the special interests in this city that want to shut down net neutrality forever. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield back.
Madam President.
Senator from Michigan.
Madam President, there are a handful of innovations over the years that have redefined the United States and the entire world. The cotton gin, railroads, electricity, and the automobile are just a few examples. However, without question, broadband internet is one of the defining innovations of our time. Broadband internet connects both rural and urban communities to vital services like telemedicine, educational resources, and international commerce. In fact, broadband internet is absolutely essential for communications in the modern era. It lets us keep in touch with our loved ones no matter where they live, and it has boosted productivity across every single industry. And perhaps most importantly, broadband internet revolutionized our economy and has led to millions of new jobs. The ability to instantly reach consumers wherever they live has allowed American small businesses and startups to compete with large global corporations in a way that would have been simply unimaginable just a couple of decades ago. Michigan is home to over 850,000 small businesses and a growing number of startups. The new ideas and creative solutions they generate put America on the cutting edge of a global and interconnected economy. Michigan small businesses are able to compete and innovate because of a free and open structure of the internet. But unfortunately, these opportunities are at risk. Tomorrow, the FCC will vote to eliminate current net neutrality protections that stop large corporations from stifling small businesses and harming the American people. I think the facts are very straightforward, and the FCC is wrong. They should stop what they are doing and keep the current protections in place. The current rules that I have consistently supported prevent internet service providers from blocking, slowing, or prioritizing web traffic for their own financial gain at the expense of small businesses and everyday internet users. The FCC's actions to roll back these protections could usher in a new era of a two-tiered internet, one for the large corporations that can pay for the fast lane and the slow lane for the rest of us. This will allow internet service providers and multinational corporations to compete unfairly against startups, slowing down their traffic and playing gatekeeper to potential customers. Let me be clear. Repealing net neutrality is anti-innovation. Repealing net neutrality is anti-competition. And repealing net neutrality is anti-consumer. The FCC should not consider this proposal tomorrow to degrade internet service, especially during a time when over 20 million households in rural America, including far too many in my home state of Michigan, still lack access to high-speed broadband internet. The FCC has a lot of work to do to close the digital divide, and repealing net neutrality is taking our country backwards, not forward. If the internet doesn't work for growing small businesses and startups, our economy will be hurt for generations to come. High-speed broadband and net neutrality in the 21st century is every bit as vital as electricity was in the 20th century. All Americans deserve access regardless of their income or their zip code. We accomplished the goal of bringing electricity to every household in this country in the last century, even in the most rural areas, by making it a national priority. We need to make access to broadband internet with strong net neutrality protections a national priority today. By preserving net neutrality, we put students, artists, advocates, entrepreneurs, and other visionaries who could be inventing the future and creating the next big thing ahead of a handful of multinational corporations. The FCC should call off this dangerous vote and instead work to ensure the internet remains a hub of entrepreneurship, creativity, and competition. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the remainder of my remarks appear elsewhere in the record.
Without objection.
Madam President, over 2 months ago, I stood here in this chamber urging my colleagues to pass legislation that will prevent kids enrolled in the Children's Health Insurance Program from losing their health care. The Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, provides health care coverage to over 100,000 children in my home state of Michigan and more than 9 million children nationwide. I recall welcoming the news that Senate Finance Chairman Hatch and Ranking Member Wyden had reached a bipartisan agreement to extend the health care benefits for these children. They worked together and they went through regular order. The Finance Committee held a hearing and a markup on the bill in October. We all know that regular order has become a very rare event in the Senate today. And I appreciated the bipartisan effort to have a Senate vote on a bill that is absolutely critical to our nation's children. I certainly expected that this bipartisan bill would come to the floor and pass with broad bipartisan support, thus bringing relief to families across the nation who are worried about whether their children will continue to have health care in 2018. Unfortunately, in the months since those good faith efforts, we still have not seen a vote on this important legislation. Madam President, this is inexcusable. We must take action now. States are already beginning to notify families that their children's health care plans may be canceled. Yes, canceled, if Congress does not act. States like Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, and others have announced that they may run out of funds within weeks. In my home state of Michigan, I've heard from parents who are worried about whether their children will still be able to see their pediatrician next year. I've also heard from pediatricians who take care of these children how children will be hurt if their health care is taken away. It would be unconscionable to rip health care services away from children during the most formative years of their life. It would be unconscionable to put new roadblocks up for families whose children need annual physicals and vaccines before they can go to school. And it would be unconscionable to increase healthcare costs for working families who are just trying to...
All right, guys, so thanks for staying on with us with
Again,
net neutrality
taking you to the White House,
little portion there on the Senate floor. That's still going on, but we're actually getting a source change on that same camera going back to a luncheon that President Trump just had in the White House. So we're going to get a little playback on that. Unfortunately, this is going away. But Schultz, I noticed some of your comments that this is really important to you, and well, it should be. I know a lot of people are talking about this, especially people like you who are engaged digital viewers, digital users. It's important stuff, and like I said, the vote is tomorrow, and the I guess up and coming, as we know, protests and rallies for this issue are also tomorrow. So we're going to keep our eyes on that, keep our eyes on what happens on Capitol Hill, and then also with some of the rallies. Hopefully we'll have some cameras there to kind of check into that. But Schultz is saying that this worries the hell out of me, slowing information down, leave the net alone. Pete also with some comments. Yeah, I know it's important stuff to you guys, and thanks for being engaged and passionate about this topic. Very interesting stuff, and obviously with the FCC being right here and we are the home of it, we're going to be really, really taking this all in tomorrow, and it will sure to dominate a lot of the news media. Looks like we're getting that video in of Trump shortly, so when we do, we'll switch it over there and get you inside that lunch and see what he had to say. Big day, of course, with politics. We've been talking about that. We've been talking about the president's tweets as well this morning, his last one being 3 hours ago. Usually there's a little bit of a surge in the morning, right, with his tweets. And he mentions the election from last night in Alabama and other various comments of the mainstream media and fake news media. And that's pretty much what's stacking his Twitter feed now. But let's go over to this playback of his luncheon coming in right now.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And I'll be also speaking at 3 o'clock today. A little bit more about what's happening with this incredible journey and what we're doing with regard to bringing down taxes, the largest tax cut ever. But I appreciate you being here today. I want to thank the incredible members of the House and Senate who have been working so hard. We're very, very close to a historic legislative victory, the likes of which rarely has this country seen. I think I can say, Kevin and Oren, that we're getting very close, and I know a lot of the folks that we'd like to have here. We said, if you have your choice, stay back and get it done, right? They're all working and negotiating some final points, but we're very, very close. This bill is vital to the American people for many reasons. First of all, it's going to have a tax cut, the likes of which we haven't seen for not only business, but for the working families of our country. It's really a tax cut based on jobs and also very good for companies, which also means jobs. The typical family of four earning $75,000 will see an income tax cut of $2,000. So that's $2,000 in their pocket, additional to spend on whatever they want to spend, or they could save the money also. You do have a lot of families, in the old days they saved money, but they will be saving it in many cases. Second, the bill is going to cut taxes for American businesses, both big ones and small ones, so that they can grow higher and compete all around the world. Right now they're paying 35%, and that's the highest in the industrialized world, in many cases by far. And we'll be bringing that down to a number that will be extremely impressive to a lot of people. I don't think I'll give them the surprise yet, Kevin, right?
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
I'll hold the surprise, but I think you'll be very happy with it. I think the businesses will be very happy, and we'll be able to compete all over the world. Third, we're simplifying our broken system. It's so complicated that nobody can figure it out. Tax returns that are very, very big and large, and they have to go out and hire companies to do them. So we're fixing the system. And finally, the plan's going to bring trillions of dollars back into the United States, money that's offshore. And you've been hearing me say $2.5 trillion for years. Well, the 2.5 has grown, and it's going to be a lot more than that, probably $4 trillion. It could even be higher than that. We don't even know. It's so much money, we don't even know how much it is. But you look at the great companies, Apple and so many others, they have billions of dollars overseas that they want to bring back. Now they're going to be able to bring it back, and we'll be spending that money, and they'll be spending that money right here, and it'll be jobs and lots of other good things. While the media has focused on the differences between the House and the Senate bills, I can only tell you that we have very, very talented representatives right here, and I think I can say, Orrin, that we're very close. We're very, very close.
We'll get it done.
And I want to thank Senator Orrin Hatch. He's been incredible, and Kevin Brady, incredible. You guys have been just really, really amazing. Although I should say that until we sign. Let's have that one.
Yeah,
You know, we've been there too many times. Let's get the vote first, right? But I want to thank my whole team, Gary and Steve and everybody. The whole team has been really something special. And Diane, thank you very much for everything. We appreciate it. So we're very close to getting it done. We're very close to voting. And our economy, as you know, has surged from where it is when I took it over. We were having an economy that was going in the wrong direction. They can say all they want about the last administration or even administrations. This country was going in the wrong direction from the economic standpoint. And you saw where it was one of the early times we were at about 1% and 1.2%, and you were going down. 401ks right now, I met last week in New York City with a very, very fine group of policemen, and they were all so happy about their 401ks. They feel like they're geniuses, because in one case he said, I'm up 39%. I see all the guys carrying the booms are smiling. Are you up too? Yes, he is. So look at him. He's got that boom. Let's see, he's got the one that's the highest and the closest. He's a good boomer. But he's got a big smile on his face, right? Thank you. That's very nice. You know, usually with the press they won't admit it, but he does, because he's beyond the press. But I just want to say that people are up 30%, 40%, 50%, depending on what's in there, and they are very, very happy. So we think we're going to grow that a lot more. We really think the economy has a long way to grow, and it needs the tax cut. It needs it desperately, and all that money is going to be spent on expanding businesses. I mean, we have so many different things in this bill that are going to create jobs. And for me, this is a bill very simple. It's a massive tax cut for the middle class, and it's about jobs. And the jobs are really defined by the companies. The companies are going to be expanding, and they're going to be creating jobs. And, you know, in education, we're talking choice. Well, in jobs, we're going to be talking choice, too, because right now people go for one job and they don't have many options. They're going to have plenty of options. They're going to look at 5, 6, 7 jobs, and they're going to pick the one they want. And wages are starting to go up, first time in many years. wages now are actually starting to go up. So we have a lot of great things happening, but what really is something that I think will really be the capper is going to be the massive tax cuts that we're planning, that hopefully within a very short period of time we'll have signed into law. It will be bigger than anything ever done in this country, bigger than the Reagan cuts, bigger than any cuts, and it'll also be reform. And there are also some other things in that bill that are very, very big that are somewhat unrelated, but ultimately I think it's all related. So I just want to thank everybody at the table, Mike, everybody at the table for being here, and I want to have a very fast lunch so you can go immediately back and finish it up. I actually feel very guilty having you here, so I want you to go back immediately and finish it up. Thank you very much. It's going to be something very, very special. Thank you all. Thank you.
A 21% corporate tax rate. Will you sign it for 21%?
I would. Yeah, I would. We're going to see where it ends up, but I certainly would. It's at 35 right now. So if it got down to 21, I would certainly I would be thrilled. I would be thrilled. But we'll see. We haven't set that final figure yet, but certainly 21 is a very great difference.
Mr. President, after Alabama, is it crucial to get a vote next week?
I think it's very important for the country to get a vote next week, not because we lost a seat. Wish we would have gotten a seat. A lot of Republicans feel differently. They're very happy with the way it turned out. But I would have, as the leader of the party, I would have liked to have had the seat. I want to endorse the people that are running. But I will tell you that to me, it's very, very important to get this vote. Not because of that, but because of and I don't know what the vote will be. I don't know what exactly the final. We have a margin now of 2, plus our great vice president. So I really, I think we're going to get the vote. But I will say we have to get more senators and more congressmen that are Republicans elected in 2018. And then you'll see a lot more of what we're doing right now.
How could that loss affect your agenda going forward?
I don't think it's going to affect it. I think we're doing a lot. This is the biggest thing that we've worked on. This also has to do with other subjects. As you know, I won't mention the subjects, but there are some subjects in here that are very vital to the beyond, I'm talking about beyond pure tax and tax cuts. But I'm just very excited by it. This is one of the biggest pieces of legislation ever signed by this country. And I can tell you that everybody around this table, we are very, very excited about it. And thank you all very much. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. Tell the boom guy I appreciate it.
That wasn't me.
Try to get a close up of you.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so a look inside the president's luncheon there and some of his remarks on tax reform, among other items. He always sticks around to answer some of those questions at the end, which I think is funny. I think coming up next on that same source, we're going to have FLOTUS. Melania Trump is going to be talking toys for Tots, making a few remarks at Anacostia Bowling Air Force Base. So we'll go over there when we have that in. But for now, how about a live look inside the House Judiciary Committee? Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein is talking, and he's been up there for the morning. And Schultz, yeah, baked Cheetos, so good, gotta have them. Worth it, love them. All right, we're gonna go over inside the Judiciary Committee, but then we'll make sure we come back to the live event with Melania Trump coming up shortly. It should be in a few minutes.
As soon as former Director Mueller found out about Mr. Strzok, for instance, that he took action. But I want to give him credit for removing or reassigning folks, but isn't he the one that chose them in the first place?
Congressman, Mr. Mueller was assigned by me to come in as special counsel, and there were a number of folks already working on the investigation. So I don't know to what extent Mr. Mueller, my goal was to get him in and working as quickly as possible. So I don't know what, if any, screening he did.
Well, do you know what anyone did with respect to vetting this team? Because, you know, if you set out to create an appearance of bias or prejudice or impropriety or conflict of interest, The only way you could do a better job of doing it would be to pick this team and then have them wear their I'm with her t-shirts to work every day.
I regret that you feel that way, Congressman, but as I said, I've talked with Director Mueller, and he understands the importance of avoiding any bias in that investigation.
Well, Deputy Attorney General, I have talked often about the fact that I think people can lose faith and trust in elected officials, but if they lose faith and trust in organizations like the FBI and the Department of Justice to fairly investigate and adjudicate violations of the law, then we may lose the republic. I know that you take that charge seriously in the role where you are, but as has been said, events like these and the daily transgressions that become public one after another are not serving either the Department of Justice or the FBI well. I just encourage you to do everything you can to restore integrity to those organizations that I know that we have both revered.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I agree with you entirely, Congressman, and I want to assure you that when Attorney General Sessions talked with me about taking on this job, he conveyed to me his desire to make certain that we do everything we can to enhance public confidence in the rule of law and ensure that the Department of Justice runs appropriately. He, like you and me, served as a U.S. attorney. He had the privilege of serving for 12 years, and he was so proud to return because of the deep respect that Attorney General Sessions has for the department. I think that's reflected in the appointments that have been made to the department. Setting myself aside, we have a superb team of experienced professionals, including Chris Wray, who are in position to run that department. So I cannot assure you that there will be no wrongdoing. We have 115,000 employees. Things go wrong.
Okay, guys, so a little taste there inside the House Judiciary Committee. We'll flash back to that in a second because I'm sure this will be going on for a while, but we just got that video in, like I mentioned, at Air Force Base Anacostia Bowling. Melania Trump, First Lady, is going to be speaking. She's meeting with the Marine Corps there to talk about Toys for Tots. Looks like there's a ton of kids in the audience. We're going to go over there. This should be a fun one.
Reserve mission since 1947. I'll give you a little history. Major Bill Hendricks, just back from World War II, in 1947 was given a Raggedy Ann doll by his spouse. And he was given an order by his spouse, and you know we all take orders very well from our spouses, to gather his friends together in the Marine Corps Reserves, collect some toys, and then hand them out to less fortunate children in the Southern California area. That year, they collected about 3,000 toys in 1947. Up until Christmas last year, we collected 550 million toys and distributed those to about 250 million children. This year, our goal is to collect about 7 million toys and distribute to 3 or 4 million children all across the United States. So this year, you bet, that's a lot. So this year, we're honored and pleased to have a very special guest here to help us out completing our Toys for Tots mission, and that's the First Lady of the United States of America. So please help me welcome Mrs. Trump.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for having me here today. I want to thank General Rex Millen for the wonderful introduction and recognize everyone who has been working so hard on the Toys for Tots drive here in this area. I also want to say a very special thank you to all of our service members who have joined us here today. We appreciate your being here, and I'm so glad to see your families with us too. My husband and I are grateful for our military and the critical role you all play in keeping our country safe. This administration will always stand with the men, women, and families of the United States military. Today I'm here to support the amazing work that Toys for Tots has been doing to make the holidays brighter for children across the country. There are so many people involved in this program, including the many people who give their time to collect toys, then spend weeks sorting and shipping them to kids all over the country. Thank you. On a personal note, as my first year as First Lady comes to an end, I have had the privilege to witness the spirit and resilience of so many people in our country. After this year's devastating hurricane season, I hope everyone watching at home will consider giving back through programs like Toys for Tots. I've seen people from all over our great nation pitch in to help those who lost everything, and I want to challenge people to continue with that giving spirit over Christmas and in New Year. It is my hope that during this holiday season, people will remember it is not about gifts. It is about family, service, and gratitude. We must continue to look out for and help each other. On behalf of the President, I want to thank all of you for being here and everyone at Toys for Tots for all that you're doing. Keep up the great work. We wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. And now, let's go and sort some toys. Who wants to help me?
So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Toys for Tots program, but it's pretty interesting. It actually dates back to 1947. The U.S. Marine Corps always was involved. This was their thing, and they do it each year now. The first toy was a handmade doll, actually, back in that season in 1947, and it started in Los Angeles, and 5,000 toys were distributed. Now it is huge, and really their mission is just to bring the joy of Christmas to every child, and this, of course, campaign for children who are a little bit less fortunate, who can't experience the Christmas season like others. often do, and it's really nice. That's kind of has a cool chronology from back in the late 40s, and now it's still ongoing. You see the Marines there with the children, a little Christmas music for spirit, and it's fun. It's kind of neat seeing what they do in the spirit of giving. So I think a nice, positive, sort of happy event today before we get to some of the other stuff. But we'll check in a little longer, see how long we have this shot. Anybody out there familiar with the program or been involved with it, even volunteering or donating any of their time, or has it been a part of your life? Let us know in the chat, and we'll chat about it. All right, we lost the source, but I was gonna just pull it back in to have T join me for a little conversation, guys. We're gonna talk about another topic. That was kind of cool. It's always neat to see the First Lady in action. I think she gets to do some really particularly interesting events, right?
Yeah, yep.
With the kids and the fun, cute, Christmassy events. I know some of you guys were commenting on it. It looks like the stream is in and out, but we're gonna talk another topic. The first of which, because I wanted T to talk about this with me a little bit. Hang on, let me cue it out. Let's find it.
What city is this in?
We're gonna go. Actually, this is here, guys.
Oh, this is Washington D.C.
In
the Washington Dulles.
This guy, this has been making the rounds. Did you see this?
No,
Check it out, guys. I mean, this is a man. The video shows a naked man appearing to climb up a dump truck on the highway. And the thing is, this is a local story. This is outside of Washington Dulles International Airport. So Dulles International Airport being the furthest sort of away from the center of the city here in DC. It's in Sterling, Virginia area. So out there, there is a metro that connects it, but it's farther. So it takes a little bit to get to it, and a lot of the international flights are there. But someone caught this video. It made the rounds of this guy, and we're talking about it in the meeting. We were like, this guy clearly had to have been under the influence of something for this to go down, and it's not super clear. But there he is. He climbs the dump truck. He's on the dump truck.
He looks naked.
You can't really see. He's at the middle of the screen there. It looks like he's waving his hands. It's kind of choppy, but I believe this was the best video that we had. And what happens here? I guess they chunked together this video. Did anybody else see this in another platform? I know it's been around.
So he just climbs onto the dump truck. Huh?
Pete saying bath salts. We were thinking PCP in the meeting. We were talking about. I mean, it really could be anything.
Yeah.
That we've seen. Schulte says, "Hey T, what up?"
There go some cheeks.
Oh yeah. Okay, nice comments in the First Lady there.
What's up,
wondering,
Schultz?
Yeah, good. Thanks, guys, for your comments there. Schulte saying.
Hold on, play that again.
Don't know
Molly.
why.
This is crazy. So he's just like.
There it is. It's not very clear. We
is this during rush hour or like?
You know, the time frame for this, I got to double check on it. I believe it is.
Looks like a car accident even.
He tosses things out along the highway and then runs around in the traffic, jumping on some of the vehicles nearby, but definitely climbing the dump truck here. And again, it's a little rough. There it is.
Oh, there you go.
Wish someone got a little clearer picture. But yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, I mean,
I always have a crazy story.
Sheesh.
I know, guys. It's just the way of the DC world right now, right?
Well,
so
technically, this was in Virginia. So,
right.
Yeah, DC doesn't need to take the fault for this one. This is definitely Northern Virginia's fault.
It's Northern Virginia. Like I said, right outside of Dulles Airport. Some of you might know it. It's one of the major ones to fly into here.
And that's actually a busy road. The Dulles Toll Road. It's a major, and they're always they've been doing construction there for like the last couple of years.
I would say, construction is crazy.
Construction is wild over there.
Airport traffic in itself, but then also just anything on top of everything. DMV traffic. It's traffic to the airport, and there's tolls that slow people down. There's just a lot of cars during rush hour. I believe this was possibly during rush hour, but I can't confirm that. I'd have to check into the article.
I wonder what happened after, because I know for a fact Dulles Toll Road has lots of police activity
I know. I'm going to look into this piece and just see more about it. But I think...
I'm sure he's arrested.
I think so. If they got him, I guess more details here. Authorities did respond to a crash report surrounding it, but and they did get the man. He's facing multiple charges now after causing this major traffic delay during rush hour. You're right.
No, that's the worst time.
So a car got into another crash, and then he got out of his car, assaulted the other driver, but then he took off his clothes, jumped on the truck. It's really, there's a story behind it. And then the video was sent to us from a viewer, actually, who saw the whole thing where he jumped onto the bed of the pickup truck, and then he ran around on the roadway.
Man.
So they later found him near Dulles Airport, and people said, you know, this isn't a scene we see every day. So
not something, definitely not. Yeah, this is some Grand Theft Auto-esque.
Yeah, Pete, good question. It is super cold here. We hit major, I know Mike was kind of enumerating this earlier during the weather side of it, but I think, at least my thing said like 20 to 22 degrees this morning.
I heard the wind
chill even worse.
Yes, the wind was very crucial this morning.
Gary over there in weather had more detail. If he comes by, we'll get more info, but I think the wind chill is like down to like 10, 11 degrees.
Yeah.
We hit a major cold front and day of cold and night of cold last night after it's been pretty relatively reasonable and mild this winter. So that, it does make me question how this guy even was okay doing that. Because the wind chill was insane last night. So it is cold. Okay, another topic, quickly. T, what do you think about this? The word of the year
for 2017.
For 2017 Webster's Merriam Dictionary, feminism. Guys,
feminism.
What do you guys think about that? Do you agree with that word? And if so, why? And if not, is there a better word that would sum up the year? This is just some footage of kind of some of the events that brought everything together. Women's March, the Me Too movement, women rallying up for various rights and things on the Hill. We've seen it all. We've seen a lot of stuff. Footage from the march. There it is. So that's what the dictionary actually named as the word of the year. There's pink hats. I mean, I can see why it became that, right?
I definitely, yeah. I mean, I can kind of. I mean, 2017 overall, it has been a very rough, rugged year for many of us. But I think a lot of females have gotten, you know, it's like females in general have you know, more, what am I trying to say?
They're going through some of the words of the year on this, but yeah, I was just trying to see what the other ones were, but females have had their power kind of
there's even more females everywhere. I mean, like more and more, you know, which is an excellent thing, you know. I of course I support feminism. To a certain extent.
Sure. Do you think it's overdone with some of this?
Overdone, yes, I think so. Because, I mean, if feminism really could like sum up the year of 2017, I wouldn't agree, because we had a chance to elect a female president. But now Trump is president. I don't think it's really as people aren't as aware of it as they should be.
Yeah, it's funny that I think I do kind of wonder the whole basis for how they actually choose the word. I know that it's some of these events. I know it's the marches, the rallies, some of the women who have been empowered, the women who have been empowered to come up against some of the men of power who are above them, who had been assaulting them or harassing them. Totally huge, big, in the news, important, very, very interesting post. Very interesting point, too, that we did have the chance to elect a woman in a higher office, and that didn't happen. So, I don't know. I wonder what you guys think, too, if you agree with it.
I wonder why
I don't know how they kind of pick it. I think if it's just based on some of these big events, there were multiple huge things that involved women sort of rising and saying their piece and speaking their mind and being more empowered, and that's definitely true. Some of the other contenders, I guess I'd like to see some of the other contenders, I think. Yeah.
I guess, also, I guess backtracking on my last statement, like, I think having Trump as president has increased more feminism awareness and more females are getting together. I think it creates more unity between feminists and feminism, people who believe in feminism, because you know there's been like all those controversies, you know, about like harassment and this and that. I think the recent events like that have definitely created this unity or made it stronger within the past couple months alone. I think.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see how they can.
It's funny because we saw the beginning, right? It's funny as we come up on the year end, we always think, what did the year mean to us? What's important to us? And so people do these lists of top Google searches, the word of the year for Webster, and these are kind of fun. They're fun to kind of think back nostalgically on the year. But it's interesting, right? We saw the Women's March. We saw a lot of stuff in politics at the beginning because we had inauguration.
Yep.
Flash forward to now, the Me Too movement and the
Me Too.
Women coming out about sexual harassment, all amazing, great things. It's been very recent. So we kind of had the beginning of the year with that. We have now sort of the end of the year with this stuff. It'll be interesting to see where the beginning of 2018 takes us, if this trend kind of continues or if other things kind of usurp these stories and kind of overset them and are more important and become more of the talk of the day. But this is a big one. I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. If you think another word is better for the word of the year. I mean, they're kind of funny contests to just say what was the word of the year, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see as we reflect on
I believe in equality for everybody.
Yeah.
It's
a good one.
That's all I'm going to say.
Let's make that the word of the year.
Equality.
Let's make that the word of the year every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I agree with you. Molly for president. Start the
Do you
campaign.
guys think, so this event is still going on over, where is it? Let me get you. Toys for Tots over here. Check it out. There's Melania with the kids getting, this is kind of a cool program, the U.S. Marine Corps.
That's also a great example of a great female.
Yeah.
In our time,
Making sure, these kids who are less fortunate get a traditional Christmas. They experience some joy, even if they otherwise wouldn't normally.
Giving back.
And it's cool, yeah. I think it's so neat. It's an old school U.S. Marine Corps tradition, and it's for the children of America. So it's nice. It's neat. It's national. It's patriotic.
Shout out to the Marines.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
It's always good.
No, I have no words yet of the year from my viewers, but if you have them, tell us.
Yeah, give us some suggestions.
We're hanging.
2017 has been quite a ride. Just I think in all fields. Just personally, I've had some family things that happened this year.
Yeah.
And just the way the world's going, Bitcoin is rising. It's like just a lot of things.
No, you're right. Oh, look at this little kid. This is cute. All dressed up. Look at that little suit.
Oh.
Love it. Do we have sound on this?
Do we know where this is located?
Yeah, this is at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling.
Oh,
so one of the joint bases around here, right? Bowling.
Okay.
U.S. Marine Corps, obviously there. They introduced FLOTUS, Melania Trump there, and she made a few remarks, just a small sort of speech about the event. Schulte saying, "I'd like to see a woman be president. I think that would improve friendship and how we interact with other nations."
Yep.
Nice comment.
I agree with Schulte, man.
Yeah, there's a component to a woman leader that obviously we haven't seen in the presidential office, but hopefully one day we do. I think we're on track to.
Yeah, I think we're on track, and I think it'll be pretty neat to see, to live through. We've had our first African American president. Now, we can do our first female president.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that was going to be this year, which would have been interesting back to back. But
it would have.
Yeah, now you wonder when that'll happen. But yeah, it's been an interesting year.
They've always had the Queen of England, right? Aren't they ruled by females?
That's the different way, but yeah.
Can't be. Yeah.
Losing my shot. What else is going on today, T? Anything else in the newsroom for you?
Let's see what's going on. Still doing those upgrades, upgrades never stop.
Anything to know at the end of the year vis-a-vis technology? Does anything switch over? Is there anything we should know about updates in general?
Just in general, no.
Nothing
there's
major.
There's no major coming
end of the
into
year.
2018.
Yeah.
There's, I think no.
No.
I mean, yeah. Other than I guess, consumer-wise, the iPhones and all the X's that came out, they'll probably be cheaper next year. I think that's when I'll buy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we've seen the rise in a lot of new, just the next level of different technologies.
Yep.
Obviously, we're seeing all the new models come out. Any big buys for the new year? I don't know what's trending or.
Well, for me personally, no, nothing much. I might get a tablet.
Yeah.
A Samsung. I saw your
yeah,
phone
I love
looks
my
really nice.
S8. I might actually re-up my tablet and do. I like the other side because I like to keep kind of knowledgeable about both, and I like my iPad, which is now super old.
Yeah.
But I want to get a new one. I was thinking about maybe the watch. I don't know. A lot of people already have that.
I mean, this Christmas, I'm sure a lot of people are buying a lot of gadgets and.
So you think maybe into January is when the better deals are going to be.
Yeah. Yep. I'm thinking. I'll probably upgrade my phone in like February around my birthday. Yeah.
Well, you guys are techie people. Let us know if you have any big tech kind of items that you're updating or switching over. And it looks like Pelosi and Schumer are coming up to the podium now on one of our feeds. They're going to talk the tax reform. We've been talking about it for weeks. Let's go over there.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Mr. Leader, this right over here is the room where it happens. The room where it happens. You know what's going to happen in this room? A charade. They call it a conference, but they've already announced that they have concluded the terms of the agreement. Why would they do that? Why would they not even give the American people a chance to see what they are doing to our economy? Trillions of dollars of impact on our economy. Not one hearing, not one expert that can attest to what they are saying. What they are doing is dishonest in terms of telling the middle class they're getting a tax hike, but in fact they're getting ripped off. It's dishonest when they say they're going to pay for itself. They're robbing the future. They're robbing the future, ripping off the middle class. And why? To reward their friends. Corporate America. Big tax break for corporate America at the expense of our veterans, our children, America's working families. This is really a disgrace. And so you can find out more about what's in the tax bill by listening to their friends, their lobbyists on K Street, because they know before the American people know, and certainly before members of Congress. But we have a message for them. Don't underestimate the intelligence of the American people. Hope they saw that lesson last night in suburban America, where people paid attention, understood the impact of the election. I'll just say one more thing before I yield to the distinguished leader, and that is, in our House, when someone gets elected, we seat them. We enfranchise their voters, Republican or Democratic. We don't say we have to wait for the paperwork. We hear the will of the people. I would hope that on the Senate side, your leadership would do the same. As Leader McConnell has said that in past elections. I know you'll remind us of that. But again, here we are, near the room where it will happen, but it's not happening here. It's happening someplace out of the light of day, with the speed of sound, to rip off the American people. With that, I'm pleased to yield to the distinguished leader.
Well, there's only one bit of good news that they're rushing this through. The longer they take on it, the worse it gets. Who would have thought they could have made the bill even less favorable to the middle class and more slanted towards the wealthy? But from what we're told, they're lowering the top rate from 39.6 to 37. That doesn't go to a single person who makes below about $300,000 a year. Only the top 1% will benefit from that change. So it's hard to figure out what goes on here from any logical point of view. Policy, a disaster. At the time when income distribution skews money to the top, more money is being skewed to the top. At a time when corporate America is spending most of the cash that they are so plush with on buybacks and dividends, not creating jobs, more money to do that. And at a time when the deficit is as high as it's been in a very long time, making the hole in the deficit deeper. On politics, it's a disaster for them. The public knows about this bill. They don't know all the details, but they smell what's going on, and that is Tax cuts for the wealthiest, no help for so many in the middle class, and tax increases for a good portion of those in the middle class. And it's so amazing to me that last night showed that suburbs that are traditionally Republican are voting Democratic, and they do a tax bill that hurts the suburbs probably worse than any other place. It is amazing to me that in the House, members of the New York, California, and New Jersey Republican delegations could even dare vote for this bill, putting the interests of their wealthy paymasters above the interests of their state and their constituents. I believe they'll pay a very severe price for this bill in 2018. But it shows you the obeisance that they have to the 1,000 wealthy millionaires and billionaires who seem to run the Republican Party these days, led by the Koch brothers. Finally, I have asked Leader McConnell to delay things just as Harry Reid delayed things when Scott Brown was seated back in 2010. I've asked him that for the good of the country, but it would be good for the Republican Party, because if they have a bipartisan bill, it will be far more popular than the monstrosity they've put together behind closed doors, which I think, again, they will pay a price for, a big price for, in 2018.
For either of you, Republicans say that what they learned from the Alabama race is that they need to get things done to show the American people that they can govern. Is that the correct message?
Well, when they say they need to get something done, it's as if you have a sick patient, and instead of curing him, you chop off their right arm and say, we're getting something done. The patient isn't going to like it too much.
Does the election last night, particularly in the suburb areas of Alabama, make you more bullish that the House can retake, that the Democrats can retake the House next year?
We've always been bullish about that. One of your associates asked me this morning, are people Democrats more energized? Democrats are very energized about that. But what this is about right now is saving the American people from a disastrous, as we said, monstrosity of a bill that's going to hurt our country. And that's where we want to keep this focus. I think they're in a lose-lose situation. If they don't pass the bill, they lose with their paymasters. If they do pass the bill, they lose with the American people. So I remember that while last night was glorious because of the quality of the person who won, how beautiful that he spoke about Alabama sometimes taking the wrong fork in the road, but not last night, and how he talked about Chip, and how he talked about bringing people together and working in a bipartisan way. That's energizing to everyone in our country. But right now, we have to defeat this bill because even when we do win, to undo this will cost a fortune, and we shouldn't have to take this bad fork in the road.
But I think there are a lot of similarities in what happened in Alabama and what happened in Virginia. First, the base was excited and came out. I think they're excited because they see the positive things we are saying compared to what the Republicans and Donald Trump are doing to them. Second, the millennials are for us in overwhelming numbers. When you're going to make it harder to pay for college, when you're going to make it harder for the universities to give you scholarships, of course young people would be on our side. They're making it worse in there. And finally, suburbanites, the swing votes in most of America. They're taxing a good number of them. You know, they're increasing the taxes on suburbanites in a very, very significant way, with the state and local deduction being modified on close to repealed. So the groups that seem to rally to elect a Democratic governor in Virginia rally to elect a Democratic senator in Alabama. It's a very hard thing to do. And obviously we were aided by a candidate on the other side who had his own problems, but that was not the only reason. If it was just that candidate's problems and not the fact that the public understands that what they're creating in there and what they've been doing doesn't help the middle class, helps the wealthiest. If the public hadn't realized that, we still would have lost in Alabama with all the problems that Roy Moore had.
If you could repeat the same success he had and the outreach he had to demographics that don't tend to favor Democratic voters.
Yes.
And by the way, there are many easier races to win than the race in Alabama.
If you had to distill the lessons that Democrats should take away from what happened last night, how would you describe it? What lessons should Democrats take?
A, be unified. B, focus like a laser on the middle class. C, work with your Republican colleagues when you can for some good alternatives. And we still are waiting for our Republican colleagues to come out of that room and actually work with us.
The other message I would say, associating myself with, of course, those three, is that this is about honoring our oath of office to the Constitution. Our founders were geniuses, and the genius of one of the genius parts of the Constitution is a system of checks and balances, and that is really an important message throughout our country from a standpoint of values. From a standpoint of politics, get out the vote. I mean, that's just the way it is. But you can't get out the vote unless you have enthusiasm, unless you have inspiration. You can't run on empty. And I think that we saw what's happening here demonstrate a sharp contrast between Democrats and Republicans, and that helped get out the vote.
In the most fervent Republican districts, turnout was not up. In most of the Democratic areas, the Black Belt, suburbs, which is a swing area, the turnout was way up. Shows you who's enthusiastic and who's sort of a little downcast about their party's activities here in Washington.
Leadership, the RNC and the NRST, they both said that Doug Jones should think about voting with the Republicans in Alabama, that the state still is overwhelmingly conservative. What's your reaction to those Republican efforts?
Well, we have, Alabama's not the most pro-Trump state of Democrats who are in the Senate. There are several more. All of our members from those states very much want to work with the Republicans. The Republicans don't want to work with them. They try to do their health care bill only with Republicans. They try to do their tax bill only with Republicans. We hope they won't repeat the same mistake when we do the end of year spending bills. When they act in a partisan way, they run into all kinds of trouble, passing bad legislation, doing it in the dark of night, and worst of all, creating legislation that the American people really dislike.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All right, that concludes that little newser there with Chuck Schumer and Pelosi talking about a little bit on the Alabama Senate race, a little bit on the tax bill, how millennials will react to that, what they're thinking. A lot of detail in there, pretty interesting stuff. That was live, that is live right there in Washington, D.C. here on Capitol Hill. Not to make this today really all about politics, but we had a ton of political news, guys. We opened up talking about the replacement for Senator Al Franken, who is still working. He's currently still in the Senate, but will be resigning, as he announced, in the coming weeks. His replacement, Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith of Minnesota. So if you missed some of that, she made her speech this morning. We took it just moments after on our live stream at the top of the show. And then also talking, of course, about the special election in the Senate in Alabama, which is definitely the talk of the day. More detail on that on our website as well, and on our posts on Facebook, fox5dc.com. We're keeping you up to date with the latest. So our coverage definitely always continues on our website and on all our social media. You guys know it. If you follow it, you know where to find us. But again, not to keep it really just in that same vein of politics, but that's what we had to cover today. So with that, guys, I just want to tease out one more time our Friday show. So in 2 days, we're going to have a special show, not really dealing with the live breaking news of the day, but it will be live. We'll be running around the city with a very special child for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We're partnering with them to make one child's wish come true, and it's going to be really fun to see how we make his day special. And he said his wish, and we set it all up from there. So we have a lot of people working hard on that, and we're going to be taking live camera around the city to kind of see that. We'll be talking with some guests here in studio about the foundation, about the past sort of collaboration with them, and what maybe their families, their children went through. And it's really interesting. It's going to be a nice, heartwarming segment for you. So we'll be up right when we're off the air at 11 a.m. and then we'll take a break sort of midday and then go back on up until we come back on air on our Fox 5 local news. And if you're not local with us, you can catch our stream of our actual TV broadcast also on our app or on our website, fox5dc.com. So you will be able to see it if you're interested. I know some of you guys are from all over and you watch us from wherever you are, and it's a different time, possibly a different time zone where you are. So either way, that's cool. We want to thank you guys for hanging out. Schultz, if you missed some of that, please do go back if you want to. We have it live on our stream. Yeah. Oh, thanks so much for saying that we have great programming. I really appreciate that. Appreciate you guys tuning in and engaging. You guys seem like you like this type of stuff, kind of jumping around in the news, the hot topics of the day. We try to bring it all together for you. And Iran, thanks for coming on and sharing your comments as well. Graham, if you're still there, thanks for hanging out with us and joining us. So you guys rock. Pete, what's up? Hey, thanks for hanging out. All right, guys, so with that, nothing else really pressing coming in on our live sources. We're going to have a normal show for you tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit of the cold weather here. We'll bring you here inside the newsroom at Fox 5, and we'll bring some more guests on. And then, like I said, Friday is our special show. So going into the weekend with a nice warm heart, some very special programming on Friday with Make-A-Wish Foundation. And then I'll be back also tomorrow as normal. And then I'll be back to host it on Friday. So we'll see you then. Hope you guys have some good plans for the week and that you stay warm wherever you are. Not quite sure. Oh, thanks, Iran. Thanks for the special comments. You're very sweet. We will keep it as interesting and varied as we can for you guys so that you continue to tune in with us. So subscribe to our channel. I know a lot of you guys are subscribers. Hopefully you get those alerts on your phone or on your desktop when we come up. It's the nice sort of perk of subscribing to a YouTube channel, right? So you can see when we're coming in, and we'll bring you the latest. So we'll see. Every day is a little bit different. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Guys, have a great one. Be safe, be well, and we'll catch you tomorrow, okay? All right. See you later.